The Philippine Islands has had a lot of history with colonization. Being under the control of the Spaniards, Americans, and Japanese has not only shaped our culture, but the way we run things as well. Currently, the Philippine government is on its fifth republic. This shows that the government has continued to change throughout several terms by the reign of the different elected leaders. To begin, let us take a look back at the significant contributions of each administration.
Emilio Aguinaldo was known as a revolutionary leader. He was a member of the Katipunan and battled alongside Andres Bonifacio. Later on, he was elected as the first president of the country. One of the contributions of Emilio Aguinaldo during his administration was constitutionalizing the first Philippine Republic and announcing the independence of the Philippines in June 12, 1898. After losing the war against the US, he spent his life in private. He was able to establish the Veterans of the Revolution for the men that fought beside him.
Manuel L. Quezon was the first president under the Commonwealth era. He is also known today as the father of the Philippine language. During his time as president, Quezon was able to implement new regulations for the country. His administration focused on social justice and agricultural problems. He also valued education and built plenty of schools and made Tagalog as the national language of the country.
Jose P. Laurel was elected president of the Japanese-sponsored republic. His administration did well in interceding and protecting the interests of his countrymen. He also faced issues such as food shortages and the abuse of Filipinos from the Japanese. Laurel declared war between the Philippines and the US in 1944. However, his reign ended in 1945 when the Japanese surrendered to the United States.
Sergio Osmeña was the vice president during Manuel Quezon's presidency. He was a Filipino statesman and was the founder of the Nationalist Party. When he became president, Sergio Osmeña joined Douglas MacArthur to begin restoration of the Philippine freedom after Japanese occupation. His administration was able to rehabilitate the Philippine National Bank and was able to join the International Monetary Fund during his term. The Bell Trade Act that would set the Philippines free from the United States was also approved during his term.
Manuel Rojas was the first president of the Third Philippine Republic. He was a political leader who started out his career in politics in 1917 as part of the Municipal Council of Capiz. He faced issues of rehabilitations for the Philippines due to World War II. He was faced with numerous criticisms during his administration, and despite being able to obtain funds for the country, his objectivity was always questioned due to his close relationship with the US.
Elpidio Quirino was born in Vigan and assumed presidency in 1948. He was not a well-loved president due to the corruption cases his administration faced, as well as the lack of programs that focus on fixing the poverty crisis of the country. Despite his shortcomings, he was able to provide benefits for the low-income families and provide banks to help the citizens learn to save finances.
Saysay was a school teacher before he came into politics. During his presidency, he had to solve issues regarding land reform, the hooks, and the lack of funding for the rehabilitation of the country post-World War II. Because of this, he created agrarian reform programs and beneficiaries to help ease the burden. He also opened up Malacanang to the public and really sympathized with the masses. His administration had zero tolerance for corruption and really dealt with the problem immediately.
Due to Magsaysay's sudden death, Carlos Garcia needed to step in as president in the middle of his vice presidency. He was then re-elected the following term. During his administration, he decided to implement laws that would give priority to local businessmen, such as the Filipino First policy. Agreements and programs that would shield the nation from external influences and corruption were also implemented. His administration also focused on reviving the Filipino culture, since he felt that it was needed to bring the country together.
Diosdado Macapagal became the President of the Philippines in 1961. His administration established additional land reforms programs and dismissed corrupt officials. However, people still said that he wasn't able to effectively maximize these programs.
Ferdinand Marcos's administration was a time where the Philippines has undergone a radical development. He established the Fourth Republic when he declared martial law. During his second term, there were very little freedom and democracy for the Filipinos. Despite the lack of democracy, he was able to boost the economy of the country due to his developments. Despite the strong economy during his first term, the economy took a downturn this time around. The prices of the market started to increase. Allegations on corruption against his administration as well as opposition on his dictatorship reform movements to oust him.
Aquino administration was able to restore the bicameral Congress, which has been abolished by Marcos. This is now known as the current republic or the Fifth Republic. Her administration focused on restoring and ensuring the democracy of the Filipinos. At that time, her administration also reformed the constitution, thus putting more emphasis on human rights and civil liberties.
Fidel Ramos was a military leader before he became president. His greatest contribution in his service was the time when he removed corrupt officers in the National Police Force and encouraged family planning to better control the country's population to boost economic growth. It was also during his administration that the Philippines was able to reach peace agreements with two long-active guerrilla insurgencies. Aside from these, he was also able to improve the inefficient tax collection system of the government.
During the time that Joseph Ejercito was president, he was still able to improve the country's tax collection and demilitarize the Philippine government. His administration focused on national security, economic diplomacy, assistance to nationals, and image building.
At the time Gloria Macapagal Arroyo took office, she was left with political and economic crisis. Her administration was reported as having one of the best economies over 30 years. However, results from the rising joblessness and poverty show otherwise. The killings, corruption, poverty, budget management, and unemployment were the primary problems during her administration. She is considered as one of the most corrupt presidents of the country.
Benigno Aquino III belonged to a famed political family. In his years of presidency, the Philippines underwent a vital transformation. Noynoy Aquino changed a government that has corrupt practices into one that provides public service founded on the principles of transparency, accountability, and integrity. His administration has reformed the government's procurement and budgeting processes, promote efficiency, and at the same time reduce possibilities for corruption.
After going through the past administrations, we can now see the different contributions of each president. Throughout these regimes, there are still some issues that remained unresolved.
Number 1. Corruption. Corruption has long been a problem of the Philippines. It is partially caused by the country's officials' abuse of power and their own selfishness. Corruption has led the Philippines to lose a huge amount of revenue and has caused the rank of the country to fall lower each year.
Number 2. Poverty. Poverty is also a problem that the government has not yet been able to solve. This problem is not only the effect of corruption, but also caused by the immense growth of the country's population. Because of this problem, many citizens lack the means to have proper education and buy their basic needs.
Number 3. Traffic. Traffic is also a problem caused by the overpopulation of the Philippines. This problem does not only need the dedication of the government, but also the Filipino people to cooperate and help promote the use of public transportation and carpools.
Number 4. Abuse of power. Abuse of power is not only present in the government, but also in other private organizations. It may come in different forms depending on how the person uses his power over the people around him. This has been a consistent problem in the Philippine government.
And lastly, number 5. Illegal drugs. Illegal drugs is still a current issue here in the Philippines. A lot of dealers and smugglers of drugs caused the death of our fellow citizens. It resulted to higher crime rates along the streets.
These issues are currently being handled by the incumbent president of the Philippines, Mr. Rodrigo Duterte. For the past 4 months, he has shown the country how he deals with these problems. However, his direct and forceful strategies have become the subject of criticisms. Is his way of leadership the right way for the Philippines?